What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the live stream. After having a week off, let me get all my stuff set up here. I gotta remember what I'm doing. Yeah, welcome back. So I see we've already got Minnesota Films, Dig Nation, and Jake. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the live stream. Glad you guys are already here and joining me. Yeah, so we ended up skipping last week. Obviously, part of the reason was due to Easter, but the other part of the reason was I was down in Ohio filming for an excavation company called Fetchco Excavating. Had a phenomenal time getting to know them and their entire team. I say entire team, it's 125 plus employees, so while I didn't meet the entire team, I met a substantial chunk of the team. Had an absolute blast with those guys on their job site. It was just a really good time. It was nice to be on some bigger mass excavating sites again, just because, as you guys know, most of the time what I have access to are the smaller jobs that I'm running equipment on. So really good to get back out on the big jobs, and I really enjoyed hanging out with those guys. And then while I was down there, I was only like 15 minutes away from Taylor from the Ohio video. You guys, sorry, I can't talk. From the Ohio video you guys are currently watching on my channel. So I actually went and spent half a day with Taylor doing some more drain work in a mini excavator with a 2D dig system on it. So that was a good time. So we should have some of that coming up here in the next 2 or 3 weeks on my channel, where I walk you guys through how to use a 2D grade system in an excavator. Pretty excited about that. So Dig, doing awesome, man. I'm feeling really good after last week. Tomorrow, believe it or not, so we are going to have to call tonight early because I have work tomorrow. Rick has a good sized job lined up for the two of us. We're going to be clearing about 11 acres. He's already been working on it with his skid steer. He got a feller head for it, so it's actually got a tree shear, and then it's got a set of grabbers that will actually hold onto the tree when he drops it. He's already been working out there for like 3 or 4 days, just dropping the initial phase of wood to the ground so that we can get an excavator in there. He's got a case 210, CX 210 coming out for me. That's going to drop at 7 a.m. tomorrow, so I'm going to start shoving down trees and popping stumps out of the ground. And then later in the week, we are going to have a case 1150 dropped off, because one of the things we're doing, we have a huge pile of crap that we've got to bury. So I'm going to dig a big borrow pit, and then we'll use the dozer to cover it over and then grade the lot after we're done. So Keith, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining. So before we get really rolling here, I got to pour my drink, as you guys know, and has become tradition on the channel here, or on the live stream. So tonight we're going to polish off my monkey shoulder. There's not a whole lot left, as you can see. So, oh boy, let the good times begin, huh? Grizzly, absolutely, man. Whatever I can do to make your lives easier, whether you're in the industry already or you're getting into the industry, my whole channel is geared towards you guys. Whatever I can do to make it easy. So I am really excited to show you the 2D system, and I'm kind of excited, a little embarrassed, but excited to show you too, just because running with a 2D system is really different, because it's a learned skill, because you have a light bar and your screen that you're paying attention to kind of over here in your peripheral vision, and then you're obviously paying attention to the dig in front of you. And it takes time getting used to whether you need to pay attention to your dig when you're at grade, or you need to pay attention to the light bar. And there's kind of a 50-50 thing happening where you almost catch the light bar out of your peripheral vision as you make your final passes. And the first day while I was fumbling around with it, it didn't go so well, but that's part of what I'm excited to show everyone is, even seasoned operators, when you put them in front of a new piece of equipment, or you get them in a new situation, everybody fumbles with it at first, and not everyone's just a master operator 100% of the time. So yeah, couple weeks and you gotta have that footage there. AP, what's this business? You're actually gonna get some sleep? I don't know that I believe you, man. You're probably not going to get off here until like 9:30 my time, so in another 2 hours. And then you're going to be like, oh, I'm calling it early. Miller Lite, there you go, Dig Nation. Miller, I won't complain about the Miller Lite. So, Grizzly, that's awesome, man. 2 weeks in as a laborer. So how are you liking it as a laborer? I will say that is the best seat in the house to learn this entire industry. one of the things that was really awesome, which Nick, what's going on, man? Sorry, no Pink Whitney. We're sticking with my tried and true monkey shoulder tonight, brother. What you got? Minnesota Dig, or I'm sorry, Minnesota Films. Give me just a second here. To go back to Grizzly. So one of the things that I got to do that I was really excited about just from a personal standpoint was I sat down with the owner of Fetchco Excavating and interviewed him for the promotional video I was doing for the company. But then I turned off the camera and said, hey, I have a YouTube channel. This is what it's geared around. Is there any way I could interview you for my channel? And he said, absolutely. And so one of the things that I was able to capture, actually it was pre-interview, but luckily I had started the camera rolling because I knew we were going to have some good nuggets come out of just our conversation. But one of the things he talked about was when you start with a company, one of the best things he tells guys to do is start as a pipe layer. They specialize. They've moved more into mass excavating and land balancing, but they really started and they continue to specialize in underground. So for that side of the business, a pipe layer is kind of the bottom rung, and that was one of the conversations that he and I had was, I mean, you doing what you're doing right now as a laborer, that's the way to learn the business. He said, I can take a pipe layer that's been with us for a year or two that really understands his job and has done a good job learning that position, and I can throw him in any piece of equipment, and it'll take him a couple days to figure out the sticks. It'll take him a couple weeks to really get decent at the machine, but at least I know they're not going to kill anyone and they actually know what the process is, versus if I just bring in, he actually told me that he's turned down multiple wheel loader operators who have come from the road side of the business as opposed to underground. He did not hire them. He actually went with a laborer instead that was a pipe layer, and the whole reasoning behind it was the guy that's been on a wheel machine on a road job doesn't understand what's going on these pipe crews. Yeah, he can run the machine, but he might kill someone because he doesn't know what's going on, versus that pipe layer that I've spent the last 1.5 to 2 years training. He knows exactly where he needs to be. He knows exactly what everyone needs. It's just a matter of teaching him to run the machine. So all that to say, very long-winded way of saying, Grizzly, that is awesome that you are starting as a laborer. That's awesome that you're loving it. Keep at it. Keep your head down. You're gonna go places in this business if you don't mind putting in the work. So Dig Nation, that's awesome. 100 subscribers, brother. That's awesome. So anybody in the chat, pop over to Dig Nation real quick and go subscribe to his channel, and let's help him out and help him to continue to grow. But that's exciting news, man. So Minnesota Films, is it worth going to school for operator? No. I mean I have to be careful here because there are some guys that are already in trade schools, and I don't want to knock that. That is obviously going to be helpful overall to your career to have something on your resume that proves you're interested in the industry. But if you have not already enrolled in a trade school and you aren't currently gearing up to go into a trade school, I would 100% say don't go to a trade school or any sort of technical college for this specific field. Go do exactly what Grizzly did. Go hire in as a laborer somewhere or a pipe layer. Spend a year and a half doing that, and then obviously tell your employer, be very upfront with them that you want to operate, and you will absolutely get into the seat. I promise you, you will not stay as a laborer your entire life unless you absolutely want to. But that's going to give you a far better education than any school you're going to pay for. Not only because the school has very limited time. Pretty much everyone I've ever talked to, and I continue to talk to guys almost on a daily basis that are coming out of these schools, none of them have over like 40 hours seat time in any given machine. And I'm sorry, but 40 hours of seat time is nothing. You can pull the sticks and you can do some small stuff, but you don't know how to operate the machine. You're not even close to being an expert in that machine. Let me turn my volume down just a hair for you guys. And so all that to say, you will get a far better education being on the job as a laborer, and you're also going to accelerate that seat time when you do finally get into the seat of a machine. So I would 100% tell you, try to go get hired in. That way you'll have the added benefit of you're not paying for your education. You're getting paid to educate yourself. That's a very, very different thing. And it is nice not to have any debt when you come out of school. So let's see here. Dude, Grizzly, I'm glad you're loving the shovel, man. That's great to hear. That's really exciting. Hey P, that's awesome. Congratulations on starting the apprenticeship. I really hope that goes well for you, man. I really hope you have a good time. So we're going to do something real quick, and it's going to be a little awkward and uncomfortable for everyone, but I'm going to zoom in just a hair because that picture is just a little far out for my liking. There. It's like you guys are just sitting up in my lap. There we go. Much better. That's not awkward and uncomfortable, is it? Heineken, Nick. All right, I'll give you a Heineken. It's still not my favorite beer, but it's better than some of the other stuff you've been drinking lately. So I'm going to give you crap, man. I'm going to give you crap every night. Keith, watched some video last night where your stomping grounds was burning again. Oh, man, so the Lost Pines is burning again. Dang. That's unfortunate to hear, but at the same time, it doesn't surprise me at all because of how freaking dry Texas is all the time. Meanwhile, up here in Michigan, we've been getting rain nonstop for the past 3 days. Sword of Reformation. I just put out a video on that. In fact, hang on just a second here. Bear with me, everyone. And I'm not going to show you my browser because I'm actually going into my actual YouTube channel, and you guys don't need to see all my details. Not that there's anything, I don't think there's anything secretive, but I want to be safe, okay? But I'm going to pull up a video and I'm going to post it in the chat. I just did a video on why you shouldn't worry about automation taking your job. And I will give you the distilled down super high level Cliff Notes version. First of all, the technology push for that technology is not currently really being emphasized because all of the manufacturers are focusing on tier 5 emissions, which is going to be coming down the pipeline relatively soon. And so that's the big worry. That's also the big push for all the politicians. That's number one, why you don't need to worry. The second reason you don't need to worry is there's only going to be certain jobs that are really going to be taken over by automation. So running off-road dump trucks, running rollers, running scrapers on big land balancing jobs, maybe some cleanup work and dozers. Outside of those things, most of the stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis, there's way too many people involved. There's way too much interaction between the operator and the person down in the trench. A computer just can't do that work. So while some jobs will absolutely get replaced, it's not one of these things where everyone's just going to be out of a job over the course of 2 weeks and the whole industry is going to collapse in on itself. No, this is going to be first of all, it's going to be a super lengthy transition because OSHA hasn't even begun the process of figuring out whether these, figuring out whether or not these machines are safe to be on the job sites. That by itself, I mean, think about it. OSHA is a government organization. That's not going to be a short process. For them to vet this equipment and make sure that it is truly safe to be on a job site with open trenches and with guys everywhere, all in the holes, I mean, it's going to be a good long time before automation even makes it here onto the job, let alone really starts taking over jobs. And then my final point was, and here's the video, let me grab the link here. I'm getting off on a ramble and I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. So here is your link, check the chat. There's that video. You should watch it later so you can continue to enjoy my lovely live stream here. But, dang it, what was my train of thought? Son of a bitch, I just lost it. Oh, but even, okay, so I'm back to it. We're good. So even when those machines do start to take over, let's think about a prime example of, let's say there was a whole fleet of scrapers that were automated, that were doing a land balancing job for a new subdivision. As anyone can tell you that's run GPS or any sort of machine control, it's never 100% perfect. You always have these like weird anomalies where someone botched the file, or for whatever reason the GPS is struggling to match two grades together because of the way it was programmed in CAD, stuff like that. Sometimes the grade is accidentally like a foot or two low on the plan. Excuse me, man. Sorry guys. So all that to say, you're still going to have at least a couple guys in a trailer somewhere on that job site, consistently watching those machines, verifying that everything is happening the way it should be, and then they actually have to go out and help correct the problem when there becomes an issue. So again, yes, jobs will be lost, but there's also going to be a whole new slew of jobs that are going to be created by designing, helping to code, and then helping to maintain and monitor these machines as they come along. So all that to say, I would really honestly not worry about your job being taken by automated machines anytime in the near future. So I hope that answers your question there. Dig Nation, 100%. Pipe layers make the best excavator operators, 100%. You can throw a pipe layer in an excavator, and it's going to take them a couple weeks to really learn the controls. It'll take them a month or two to get really proficient at it. But then they will most likely, they may not be as fast as an operator that has been operating that whole time, but they will 100% be more efficient just because they know what's going on, they know where they need to be, and they're going to be way safer than someone who has never spent time as a pipe layer, because when you're a pipe layer, you're the guy in the hole. You know what makes it unsafe for you. And so when you're now in the seat, you're going to be thinking along those lines when you're operating as opposed to just an operator. So that's right. That's right, Dick. It's a virtual lap dance, 100%. Nick, I did see your snowblower photos. I totally forgot to actually do anything with those, and I apologize. The reason was you went to the spam folder, man. And so I didn't see those pictures until I think it was last week, and it was right before I went to Ohio on my trip. So I totally forgot that I even received those. I apologize. I'm going to try to work those into the Instagram at some point here, and I'll give you credit. So, in fact, that being said, now that you're no longer in my spam folder, never mind. You already messaged me, which means I have your Instagram handle, which means I can already give you credit. Boom, I'm smart. So smart. I'm on fire. Let's see here, Cameron. So I was thinking about doing AIS school here in Lansing since you have the GI Bill. Cameron, I'm going to be honest with you. If you got the GI Bill, because of the fact that you can potentially use that for your wife down the road or your kids, I would 100% tell you to save that GI Bill and go higher end. The other thing is being local, over here in Howell, I can tell you that AIS's program is nothing special to write home about. It's an okay program, but 100% save your GI Bill. Don't waste the money, especially when you can go to a dozen different companies around here and go get hired tomorrow, and they are 100% ready and willing to train. Man, go get paid to learn. Don't pay to learn. So, and I see you're talking about filling out the apprenticeship program for 324. There isn't going to be a different apprenticeship program. 324 is the only local up here. That's the only option for getting into the union. So no, I would not recommend a different route. If you want to make more money up front, potentially, again, this all depends on the company you go work for. Going the union route will be the way to go. However, as you've heard me preach over and over and over again on this channel, if you can afford to postpone that for a year or so, and I'm not saying you're going to postpone like a huge payout. Honestly, wages right now are to the point where it's not going to be that drastically different. But if you can postpone, I would 100% tell you go work for a private company, start at the end of the shovel, and spend a year on the end of the shovel. Like we've consistently been talking about it now this whole time. It is just 100% the way to learn this industry, and really you will be a 10 times better operator if you start on the end of a shovel somewhere. So what about spotting for utilities? So elaborate on that, Dig Nation. What specifically are you wanting, like a video on it, or are you just asking like along the lines of how do you go about it? Expound on that one just a little bit. I'm more than happy to answer it, but I need you to flush it out a bit more for me. Sword, absolutely, no problem, man. Don't ever hesitate with any of you guys. I always say this, but there's always new guys in the chat each time we do these. Don't ever hesitate to reach out via Instagram Messenger, email, and you'll see my email flash right down here in a minute. Use it. There's a reason I'm posting that. I speak to guys on the phone probably about once a week, maybe even twice a week sometimes. And it's just guys that are all in your position. They all have questions. They don't have anyone really directly that will answer them for them. They want advice on what path they should take in their career. And I'm not saying I'm going to be able to make a call for you and I'm going to help you change your life around or anything like that. But at the same time, I can at least give you some perspective and some advice if you want it. So again, don't hesitate to reach out via any of those channels to ask questions. So yeah, Keith, that's another good point. You get into heavy cloud cover, you have issues out in the woods is another thing. We got a lot of woods here in Michigan, and you get into those woods, and whereas you might have 2 or 3 miles of range on your GPS from the base station, when you get in the woods, you may only have a mile, maybe even less sometimes, depending on how dense the woods are. So absolutely. And Dig Nation, spot on. They can't recognize hand signals. Oh, that occurs to me. That's probably what you were talking about with the what about spotting for utilities. I'm with you now. That's the problem with the chat running and me with a lag, is I forget what we're talking about and then what you guys respond to. So, but yeah, digging for utilities is a prime example. Yes, they're not going to be able to do that. That's probably going to take a seasoned operator to be able to do that. No hand signals. So again, I always come back to pipe work. I don't ever see underground work being done by machines. I could be totally wrong. You know, if they invent the machines that are capable of fully automating that whole process, including putting the pipe together and moving the trench boxes. But again, a prime example, the job I was on with Fetchco this week. Mainline digger is sitting about 30 feet away from high voltage power lines, so he has to boom down every time he wants to swing and dig. He's got a tree right in the front yard of a house on his right hand side. They're 22 feet deep, so they have 4 trench boxes stacked on each other. And he was currently digging up the gas lead going into the house. They were going to have to take 2 of the trench boxes off, pull them up out of the hole, cross over this gas line, pull the bottom 2 boxes forward, then set the top 2 boxes back on and bolt them all together. You can already see that whole process. How is a machine going to be able to do that? I mean, the guy had no room, to the point that he was using 3 separate buckets to be able to reach down and have room to dig at the bottom of the hole of the trench box. And one of his buckets had to sit in the stone box for him to have room to do all that. Like, a machine can't do all that. They just can't make all of those real-time decisions on how you're going to tackle those problems. There was bad soil in the bottom of the hole, so they had to be really wary that the pipe layer wouldn't get into trouble. And again, how is a machine going to recognize all those conditions? So, all that to say, don't worry about robots. We're a long way off, guys. So let's see here. Jake, in trade school right now during senior year, have an apprenticeship with a company, decided to go. Any suggestions? Is it smart to go to community college? In all honesty, Jake, I will tell you confidently, you don't need to go to the community college. In fact, what I would say is save that money. You know, if you really want to have a safety, save that money and put it away in a savings account, and that can be your rainy day fund. Let's say the bottom drops out. Let's say the worst case scenario happens and automation, god damn it, takes our jobs in like 5 years. It's never going to happen. Don't panic. But let's just say that is the case. Take that rainy day fund and go to a community college and start getting your credentials. I mean, you're not really going to be any worse off than you are right now. Like, it's not like you have some huge advantage going, and this is the big lie that everyone wants to tell you, that you have some huge advantage going to college right out of high school. No, you don't. You have no advantage. The worst case scenario, you have to take like a math refresher course before you start your college classes. So I would advise you, and I'm saying this because I didn't do this route. I went through college and then came into the industry. And what happened is I could have been a foreman or a superintendent by the time had I come right out of high school working in the trades. By the time I made it to where I got out of the trades so that I could come do this, had I not gone to college and wasted all of that time, I could have 100% been probably a foreman, if not a superintendent, and probably pulling anywhere from, depending on the company you work for, $120,000 to $250,000 a year. So no, I would say stick on the end of a shovel, for a couple of, for a year and a half. Be on the end of that shovel, be happy with your world. Then get in the seat of some equipment and learn every area of the business you can. Learn the road work, learn the pipe work, learn the land balancing, whatever company you're working for, learn all facets of that work. Because then if you do all of that and you show good work ethic and you show that you're an intelligent guy, you can very easily get promoted to foreman. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but I actually sat down with Fetchco's superintendent and did an interview with him for the channel, and that is coming probably within the next 2 weeks for one of my down and dirties. But honestly, within like 5 to 7 years of being promoted to a foreman, you could 100% be a superintendent pulling down 6 figures. A comfortable, very cushy 6 figures. So all that to say, no, don't go to school. Let me catch back up here, guys. 17 people watching. That's what I'm talking about. Although that's light. Let's take a look now. Hey, we're up to 27, guys. 27 people in here. Phil, what's happening, my man? Down there from down under. Phil is my Australian supporter, and he's one of my favorite guys because he is always like the most positive person in the world. So I'm glad you're here, Phil. And absolutely, Dig Nation, smash that like button, baby. Smash it. Grizzly, I do have merchandise. So if you go to my my website, which is dieselandironproductions.com, you'll see that flash down here as well. I have a storefront, and you can buy hats or maybe this nice college shirt. In fact, right there. So we're talking about the whole college thing. You guys haven't even told me I'm wearing my freaking college shirt. So college, an alternative for those who can't hack it in the trades. That's why I made this shirt. You don't need college. College is the alternative to what we do. It's not the other way around. So all of this stuff can be found on my website, dieselandironproductions.com. And I really do appreciate the support. As you guys have seen, I try very hard not to pitch my merchandise. I don't want to be one of these cheesy wheeler dealer types. But I do appreciate it when you guys buy the merchandise. Obviously, that supports me, so appreciate it. AP, keep your messages to yourself. No one wants to hear about JCB. So, Ryan, sorry I'm getting caught up, guys. Ryan, waiting to hear about this job as a wheel loader operator, Austin, Texas. Nice. Wow, 18 to 22 an hour. So Ryan, when I was down there, which first of all, what company are you applying to, man? I'm really curious. So I worked for Ranger Excavating down there for like 10 months or so before I moved up north here. And at the time, this is an indicator of how much wages are going up in the industry. At the time, one of their top grader hands was making, I think, $24-25 an hour. I flat out asked what was kind of the cap of what I could make as an operator to their HR guy, their hiring coordinator, whatever you want to call him. And at the time, it was about $25 an hour was kind of the top. So for you to be starting at 18 to 22, that's awesome, man. So, and yeah, let me know what company that is. Now you're making me all homesick. Hey James, what's happening, man? Thanks for popping in. You're finally done with the snow, and yes, I finally hit 8,000. So YouTube is weird. So we did this like skyrocket on subscribers, and then over the last like 15 days, it's like slowly been back in decline. So as we were getting like 100 and something subscribers a day there for a while, and now we're back down to like 80 or so. So I don't know, weird stuff, but we did make it to 8,000. I'm hopeful. Let's do a little knock on wood, fingers crossed action. I'm hopeful in the next like month and a half we'll hit 10,000. So I'm going to try to get some merchandise. So I have fair warning. The reason I haven't done merchandise giveaways right now is because everything I do is print on demand. And so I don't have any like spare stuff sitting around. But for 10,000, my wife and I just had this conversation about going and spending about $1,000 to get like probably my American flag diesel and iron you guys have seen me wear. I just get a bunch of those shirts made up in a bunch of different sizes so I can start doing giveaways. So for 10,000 for sure, we're gonna do some giveaways. We're gonna celebrate that one. That's a big landmark. Yes. Again, I'm very smart. Nick. Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I would also say that that's where the emphasis is on automation. I mean, if you look at all of the Cat Command products that are coming out right now, it's all geared towards the mining industry or doing like ship unloading. It's stuff where your operators are in really unsafe environments. So, and that's another good point within itself. Like automation to a degree is already here. Like you could go get one of those Cat machines and you can operate it from somewhere in India remotely, and that's here. But there's a reason you don't see the whole industry switching over to that, and it's not going to happen in all honesty. Not that I can see. Oh, let's see here. Dignation, words of wisdom. Whew, you got to be careful there, brother. I could, for all you guys know, and for all I know, I could just be spouting garbage, so. Nick, that's a 100% attainable goal. When I was at Ranger Excavating down in Texas, my foreman was, I think, 26 or 27. So I don't know how old you are now, and I don't know how much experience you have. But if you're a real go-getter, if you show work ethic, if you show drive, and if you pick up the business, that's a 100% attainable goal. I would even say it shouldn't take you that long to become a foreman. I would say by early 30s, you ought to be a foreman. Especially getting into it this early like you did. So, and I'm doing awesome, Phil. I'm doing awesome. I'm back from Ohio. I got to spend a whole freaking 3 days on a huge job site we had like, I think there were 2 Cat Challengers running pulling pans. Then they had 2 Case Quad Tracks pulling pans. We had a Cat 365 loading Cat 740 off-road dumps. I got to see, have you guys seen the new D6s actually push? Like, I know you've seen pictures, maybe videos, but good God, I saw one of those in person for the first time. One of the brand new next-gen D6s. That thing was pushing like nobody's business. I was shocked at how well that thing was pushing. So all that to say, man, I was on cloud 9. I was back on some big job sites around some big iron. I am quite happy. And then I ended up making a really, really, really nice video for Fetchco. I'm really pleased with that, how that turned out. That's going to air not this week, but the following week on Friday. I believe I've got it scheduled. So, let's see here. Ba-boom. So Jake, project management, you could absolutely. So I will say there that some companies require their project managers to have degrees, but there are a lot of companies that you don't have to have a degree for product management. Project, not product. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. The other thing I will say is if you want to get a degree, you can go get a degree in construction management. Out of all of the degrees, that's going to help you the most in this field. It's generally speaking a 2-year program, and it's something that you could absolutely do at night. And excuse me, it's killing me tonight. And I would say if you don't do it now, and your employer is the one that's wanting to promote you, you've expressed interest in being promoted, and they're on board with that, there's a chance they might help you with your tuition, and they might actually help sponsor you through getting your construction management degree. That's another reason I tell guys don't necessarily jump out of high school and go get that degree. There's a decent chance if you prove yourself long term, if you've been with this company for 5-7 years and you've worked your way up and you express, hey, I want to flip over to be a project manager, I'd love to go get my degree. If nothing else, they'll at least let you out of work on time to go pursue that, if they're a company that's worth anything. But there's a decent chance they'll throw some coin at you to help you with that, because in all honesty, that's an investment in you that's ultimately going to benefit them. So I hope that kind of helps guide you as well. Elliot, thanks for popping in. I hope you're still here, because I can't tell from that message if you were on your way out or on your way in. But if you're here, I'm glad you're here. And if you're on your way out, I'm glad you stopped by. Brandon, what's up? Wednesday to fill out the application. Awesome. That's exciting, Brandon. I really hope you get it. That's exciting stuff. So, Ryan, JV Dirt and Loam, are they out of the Austin area directly, or are they in one of the like outliers, like never mind, I'm not even gonna say it because I just lost all of my freaking Buda. Kyle, that's what I'm going for. That sounds like something that would be out of the Buda Kyle area. I bet, James. Responding back to you, glad spring is here. Yeah, with all the snow pushing videos you've been posting. So we've actually dropped back down into the 60s. Yet last week was like hot. We almost hit 90 in Ohio, and I was loving it. And now that I'm back in Michigan, we've got rain. And I think for the next week, we're going to be like in the mid 60s. So today our high was 58. But, so Jake, it's funny you say that. These are all available. They're not as easy to find as my regular videos, but people do actually, I still get comments on live streams that were done, like a month ago. So people do still watch these. Oh, yeah. So Nick, 100%, man. You can absolutely, I always say this to everyone who watches my stuff, because obviously if you're watching my stuff, it's because you're a nerd for the industry and you are really into learning and you're into bettering yourself and bettering your career. Honestly, if you're watching my stuff, I can tell you're going to be successful, and it's going to happen earlier than 30. So, Cox Landscaping. Oh, what was your name? Oh, is it Jeremy? I can't remember if it's Jeremy or not. Oh yeah, so Cox Landscaping. So let's see here. If I were looking for a 3,900 pound lift capacity machine, I know Nick's gonna give me shit for it, but check out the new Case B series. Don't mess around with the Alpha series. Check the new Case B series. So far I've heard nothing but positives about it. They have fixed a lot of the issues, pretty much all of the issues that the Alpha series had, and then they've also made the hydraulic controls a lot smoother. The reason I say Case isn't just because it's Case, Nick. It's because they have some of the best visibility in the industry, and since adding a backup camera, which wasn't necessary because of the visibility, but now you have one, honestly, it is hard to beat the Case skid. The other one I'll recommend, and this is actually one that's relatively new to me, it's from running Taylor's down there in Ohio. The Deere skids actually shocked the snot out of me at how comfortable they were, how responsive they were. The visibility is not that great, but it was an absolute tank. He had a 333G, and that sucker could push. It was a heavy machine. You could tell it was heavy, but the result of that is you could push a crap load of dirt with that thing. So I would check them out. One I would say to stay away from is Takeuchi. I hate to say that. I've said this before in my live streams. I love Takeuchi skids. They make a really good machine, but they are having some pretty terrible issues with their after treatment systems. So I would not go the route of a Takeuchi currently. I would give them some time to iron out all those kinks. So Alan, great question. Let me repeat it for everyone to know where I'm at in my comments here. Which is better, lease or buy? At the moment, don't have enough work to justify a purchase, but picking up little jobs every day. So what I would say is, that is a decision that you as a business owner need to make initially. You can go two routes here, and you just need to commit to one. Where people get into trouble is when they kind of dabble and try to play both sides of the fence. You either need to go the lease route, or you need to go the buy route. And what you need to do is figure out what your fixed costs are going both directions, and you need to plan for maintenance. And I will say, if you do go the buy route, don't get into one of these mindsets where you're going to buy once, you're going to pay the machine off, and then you're going to stick with that machine for the next 12 years. This is the dirt world. This stuff wears out, and it becomes very, very expensive to maintain over time. So I will say, even if you don't go the lease route, do plan on putting money in the bank. And so many guys in this industry don't do this, and it's ultimately why they end up underwater on all their machines. Put money into the bank every year. Figure out what that number is so that you can rotate equipment, call it every 5 to 7 years. And it doesn't have to be getting into brand new machines. In fact, I would actually encourage you not to get into brand new machines if you're going to go the buy route, simply because every manufacturer has issues with their machines coming from the factory. It's a new machine. Stuff happens, stuff gets overlooked, and you're going to have a lot of downtime until that machine gets, call it 200 to 400 hours on it, where it really gets all of the kinks worked out. And so I would always recommend, guys, if you're going to buy equipment, go look for a machine that's around 400 or 500 hours on it. That's still a really new machine. It hasn't been worn out. It hasn't been beat to pieces, but you're at least past that kind of trial and error phase of trying to figure out what's going on. Then calculate your fixed costs on that, plus whatever maintenance you think might happen down the road. And you could probably do some pretty quick research and talk to some guys in the industry and get a feel for what that's going to look like. If you go the lease route, the nice thing about that is, first of all, whether you do a 3-year lease or a 5-year lease, you're constantly flipping machines. If you do a 3-year lease, in the industry right now, that's about what your standard warranty is. So that means that you're always going to be in warranty on that machine. Yes, you might have mechanical, and you will occasionally have mechanical failures that are not machine related. It's where you broke something, warranty's not going to cover it. But most, and by far the majority of issues you're going to have during that warranty period is going to be covered for, by your warranty. And you have the ability to have a fixed cost that every month this machine costs you X amount. So what I will say is, when you get to that stage where you were looking at buying or leasing, pick a route, know your costs both ways, and make a calculated decision there. Now, for where you're at now, if you're not really ready to make that plunge, I would encourage you just to rent. Bid the jobs a little bit higher, knowing that you're going to have that rental bill, and I would rent the machines, and that makes sure you don't have a payment. It takes that pressure off of you that you've got to have X amount in the bank or on the books so that you can pay this machine payment. Take that stress off of your plate. The market right now, there's so much work out there. You being a hair high because of renting a machine is not going to make or break you. If it breaks you, you have a bigger issue other than you're having to rent a machine. So that's the best advice I can kind of give you there. So I went on a rant again, and I'm behind in the comments. Damn it. Yeah, AP, I really like that Doosan. There's more coming. I think I've got 3 more days of Doosan footage, and I really start to, for the most part, I think there's a couple spots where I dig into how much I like that machine, and I talk about the things I didn't like on it. So, and James just basically said exactly what I just said, and he makes a good point. Make sure. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if it's the scotch or the dinner. I'm an animal tonight. But yeah, James makes a good point. Make sure you look into write-offs as well, because that will play into it. Nick, absolutely. Here we go. I'm gonna vouch for Case, buddy. Keith. I don't know if they are still the same machine. They were for a long time, but I don't know if they are still the same machine. So I don't know. Nick, 100%. Yes, stay away from Bobcat. I'm not a fan of Bobcat. They're doing some shady business with their attachments that's really pissed me off. And they're not horrendous machines, but they're not great machines, and they are cheaply built. So, for instance, your undercarriage is actually bolted to the machine as opposed to being welded like all the other manufacturers. Now, I haven't heard of anyone snapping their undercarriage off, so take it with a grain of salt. But when it comes to build quality, that should tell you something right there. So, see, Jake likes Bobcat, but I'm not a fan of Bobcat. I'm not gonna go Elliot's route and say they're the 100% worst machine on the market, but I am not a fan. And let me see if this is an important text message. I'm sorry, guys. I know I should be professional. No, it wasn't even important. I'm not professional. I'm sorry. Oh, Ryan. Okay, you emailed me. I will take a look at my email after we get done with the live stream, and I'll shoot you a response, Ryan. Thanks for sending me that. I'm curious. Financial advice for a new first period apprentice. Nathan, what kind of financial advice are you looking for? Don't be frivolous with your money. That's the best financial advice I can give you. Everyone in this industry, especially young guys like Nick, who's sitting there spending all of his hard-earned money on a freaking pink Whitney fruity girl drink and his little crappy ass tasting Heineken beers. don't waste all of your money like Nick over there. You need to save that money. Honestly, depending on where you're at in the country, here's like, we'll quit poking at Nick right now. The honest advice I can tell you is you're going to start making some serious money in this business relatively quick at a relatively young age. And so many guys, we're dumb. We especially when we're young, we do things that we're not proud of. Everyone wants to go blow that money. And what ends up happening is you work your ass off and you have nothing to show for it at the end of the day. And what I will advise you to do is don't go blow your money. It's all right to go have some nice things. By all means, go have some nice things. But don't forget to throw some money in the bank, because there are aspects of this industry, and this is advice for everybody here. This industry is cyclical, and we are a slave to the economy. And the economy is cyclical, as we all know. Everyone knows that looming out there in the next 2 to 5 years is another economic downturn, which means that our industry starts to suffer from that downturn, which means you are going to suffer from that downturn. You know, I hope that everyone keeps their job here, but let's be realistic. That's probably not going to be the case, especially since you're a first-year apprentice. You're going to be at the bottom of the totem pole. You're going to be one of the first guys cut when the economy tanks. If you just went and spent all your money on a $70,000 truck, and then you went and put another 10 grand in rims and another, $5 grand in tires into it, and you've got that sweet ass truck, but guess what? Now you can't make the payment on it because you just got laid off and you have no money in the bank. Instead, have a couple nice things, put some money in the bank, have a fallback plan so that if the economy does tank and you do get laid off for a little bit, you can afford to sit at home for 4 or 5 months looking for a job. That's one of the best pieces of advice I can give you for this industry. Oh, boom. Let's see here. I will agree with Nick on the Bobcat excavators. Their bigger ones aren't terrible from a jerkiness standpoint. That E26, I've talked about it and I'll talk about it again. That is the shittiest machine I've ever run in my life. It was horrendously jerky. It was terrible. Hated it. Their bigger machines, I think I used an E36, when I did my sewer line repair job with my buddy. It was way smoother, but it had no balls. Like, the machine just did not have power. I was not impressed with it. So I'm 100% on board. I'm not a fan of Bobcat excavators at all. Oh, so we're starting. See, Jake's getting defensive and everyone's hating on Bobcat. I don't want to start it. I'm sorry, Jake. I didn't want this here. Octavian, the new Kobelcos, I have, well, let's see here. What is that? The Series 6 now, I think they're on. I love Kobelco. 100% love Kobelco. They innovate on a machine that no one else is really innovating. I take that back. That's not totally accurate. Cat has done a lot of innovation on their next gen. So I do have to give them that. But outside of the 2D controls and the EH controls and the adjustability, there hasn't been a lot of innovation on also having this function. And a great example of that is their crane function on their larger excavators, where you can actually split your hydraulic motors. One will power the final drives, one will power all your other functions. Everything runs a little slower, which is what you want when you're craning, but you also don't get the jerky movements when you start to use your travel pedals. Everything is nice and smooth. Nobody else in the industry does that. Nobody else in the industry is coming standard with the side panel guards, or they're not bumping stuff up, as far as hoses and your main pump feed for your hydraulic oil. That's all bumped up off of the belly pan of the machine, so that if you accidentally run over something or swing over something and it dents that belly pan, it's not going to rip that hose off of your pump. I mean, there's a lot of things. Phil, just saw that you're taking off, man. Thanks for stopping in, man. Appreciate it. So anyway, there's just a lot of things that Kobelco does really well. Not to mention, they've got power. I have always been impressed with Kobelcos when I got in them and dug. So I love Kobelcos. AP, you're actually taking off at a decent time. I hope I caught you in time. I'm sorry if I didn't, but thanks for stopping in, man. Get you some sleep and enjoy that first day. Dozer Dennis, thanks for popping in, man. Good to see ya. And I enjoyed the last video of the basement dig, man. Or prep for the basement dig, I should say. All right, let me pop up here. Seems they've run out of juice when moving there. Yep, that's more back and forth on the Bobcat stuff. In Illinois is getting as much practice as possible. So Tyler, 100%, go get as much practice as you can wherever you can get it. I would say go volunteer your time somewhere. You shouldn't have to in this economy, in this job market. You should be able to go get a job pretty much anywhere. But yeah, go get seat time. The one thing that changes the game in this business, and it is the only way to learn, is seat time. So 100%, go dig some holes in the training center and then fill them back in with a dozer and get to where you can do it at almost top speed and make it smooth. Ooh, Nick, thanks for popping in, brother. I appreciate it. 5:30, which, you know, I don't know why I'm giving you so much credit. I also have to be up at 5:30 a.m. because I'm starting a job tomorrow with Rick, clearing 11 acres. So I will also be up at 5:30 a.m. So we are going to wrap this up at a decent time, guys. I would say probably another 45 minutes to an hour, and we'll wrap this baby up. So James, enjoy yourself. Appreciate you popping in. Man, everybody's dropping off, guys. Come on now. I can see one or two of you guys, but man, half the chat's disappearing here. It's all right. We got 30. Oh, we're down to 27. All right. Oh, let's see here. Northeast Ohio farmer. How are you, sir? Thanks for popping in. And where are you at in Northeast Ohio? Because I just came from Northeast Ohio. Keith, I agree. The E-Series excavators, that E36, maybe it was a 45 I was running. I think it was a 36 though. They seemed super underpowered. They just didn't have any balls to them. So Justin, where are you from? Because there's a decent chance that, oh no, I take that back. That's a 485, so it wouldn't have been that machine. The dealership I used to work for, Southeastern Equipment, actually did a Cabelco, all painted up in super patriotic colors and everything. And I can't remember. I want to say that went to someone down in Indiana somewhere. So, but that was a pretty sweet machine. I think it was like kind of POW themed. But I don't remember. Let's see here. Oh, good deal, Phil. I'm glad you're hanging out for a little bit. I thought you just popped in for 15 minutes or so. Yeah, man, everybody smash that like button. Love it. Let's see here. Looking at getting 28 TR340 track skid steer with about 700 hours. 2018, yeah. So if you're going to go with an Alpha Series skid, so first of all, if you haven't run the Alpha Series, get in it. Make sure you like the controls because they are really jerky, really jittery. That's one of the chief complaints everyone had with the Alpha Series skids. So make sure you like the Alpha Series controls before you commit to purchasing that machine. And you don't have to go sit in that specific machine. You can go sit in any of the Alpha Series skids and get a feel for what those EH controls are going to feel like. But yeah, $40,000 for that machine seems like a pretty reasonable price. Now, mind you, I'm going off of what I remember from when I was dealing a year ago. But that sounds, for that amount of hours being in good condition, that sounds like a pretty decent deal. Oh, near Akron. So yeah, I was right up. I just came from filming for Fetchco Excavating up in Medina. And then I've been working with Taylor Abraham at Abraham Drainage over in Elyria. So yeah, I was right in your neck of the woods. Daniel, good question. If you have not already committed to a program and you haven't really started going down that path, I would absolutely, as always, recommend go hire in at a small company and let them pay you to learn the business. You're going to be on a shovel, and you should be. That's the best way to learn. And go do that for a year. Tell them you want to be an operator. That's your end goal, but you don't mind spending time on a shovel. Excuse me. And go get a job and let them pay you to learn the business in a way that is far superior to any school education you could get. You can go to school, you could spend anywhere from, depending on the school program, $5,000 to $25,000, depending on how long and where it is and what they do. You're still not going to get the same education that you will being on the end of a shovel for a year in this business. You'll be a far superior operator, you'll know more about the industry, and you will be way more safety conscious. So that's the route I would recommend you do. So Octavian, yes, it was super jerky. You can adjust all of those, I say all of those functions. You've basically got sensitivity, and then you've got the speed of the hydraulics. So you have the sensitivity of the actual stick you can adjust down, but then you actually have the speed of the hydraulics you can adjust down too. So when you get that machine, you will have to awkwardly fumble your way through the menu system for a half hour, like we all do with those Alpha Series, because that's one of my chief complaints with that machine, outside of some of the mechanical issues they had, was the stupid menu system on those machines. Pain in the ass, but you can adjust all that down. But yeah, those 2018s of the Alpha Series, those are some of the safest ones to buy. They worked a lot of the kinks out before, just before they switched over to the B Series. So, let's see here. Grizzly, with inflation, do unions negotiate laborers or operators contracts? So basically, the way a union works, Grizzly, is, I want to say it's, and you guys will have to correct me and remind me, but I'm pretty sure it's every 5 years there's a contract negotiation. So you negotiate a 5-year contract, or the union does, and then at 5 years you come back to the table, the union does, with all of the companies, and they renegotiate the contract. So in theory, that keeps up with inflation and all of that stuff. And you have a union for operators, the International Operators Union, and then you have the Laborers Union. Those are two separate unions. They do not negotiate for each other, with each other. All of that stuff is totally independent, and that's why your laborers will have their own scale, they'll have their own benefits package, and it will be totally separate, totally different than your operators will be. So, Alan, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Thanks for joining in. Appreciate you popping in, man. Which I need to get down your way at some point here and come do some filming with you, and we'll do a little collaboration. Or what I almost said is collaboration, because I'm a good talker. Let's see here. Justin, what was that in response to, Justin? The Cabelco, that's right, okay. New Jersey, okay, so that is not the same machine I was thinking it was, Justin. But that is pretty sweet, and those Cabelcos are awesome machines. I've always been a big, ever since I got introduced to Cabelco, they have become probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, excavators. So yeah, so what Jake is saying, all of that will be laid out in your contract, and those contracts are not private. By the way, if any of you guys are not aware, you can go online and you can find your union contract, and you can read through all of the gritty details of how your fringe benefits work, what the raise system is, how the apprenticeship program works. All of that is public information. You don't have to have some top secret document. It's out there. You just have to go find it. Dirty Dan, thanks for joining in, man. Western PA. So how far over in Western PA are you? How close to the Ohio border, just out of curiosity? Keith, 100% no. You would not be crazy to want to do that. Now, let me break that up into a little more detail for you. And I'm going to put my hands back here because the camera appears to really like focusing on my hands and not on my face hole. So let's pull this back too. No, so what I will say is if you are a small company and you are kind of the guy that's doing everything else, you're not going to have the time to do your own 3D models. Just fair warning. But if you want to really increase your hiring potential at other places down the road, if for whatever reason what you're doing fails, that is a fantastic skill. I was just talking to someone in the industry, and they were saying that they would absolutely fork out $100,000 a year if someone knew how to use CAD and program for their GPS. So that is a fantastic skill to have. It's going to save you about $300 every project. That's typically what it costs. So you have your engineering files that are sent over to you from your engineering firm. You have to get those converted into 3D models to go in your GPS. So a lot of times your engineering firm will offer it, but if they don't, there are a lot of third-party guys out there that will do that for you, and it's about $300 to convert the file over, and then you can throw that in your GPS. So it's about $300 per project to get that converted over. Now, you can see where there is a market right now, and this is for anybody else that's kind of computer savvy and might want to be an entrepreneur. There is absolutely a market right now for guys who can learn CAD and learn how to do that. You can go around and advertise to kind of mid-sized to smaller dirt companies who don't have the ability to do those file conversions in-house. They will absolutely pay to outsource that to you. So that's just a little something to keep in your tool belt. So Daniel, thanks for watching, man. I appreciate the support. Alan, absolutely. This summer, at some point here, so I will say this, we are right on the front of the season, and I have already been to Ohio twice. Next week, starting tomorrow, I'm working with Rick, pulling some crazy hours this full next week, and he's talking about there actually being another phase to this project later in the year. And then he's already got me booked for a week about a month out from now. We haven't finalized dates, but he's got another big project coming up. So all that to say, it's already very busy here. So at some point I will sneak out your way. I'm supposed to possibly go see Carson Shifsky again this summer. And so what I might do is on the way out or on the way back, pop in for an afternoon and we'll go do some filming together. So we'll get it figured out one way or another though. Oh, let's see here. I know, so we were talking about that earlier, Alan. Our subscribers were just skyrocketing for a while, and now it's kind of tapered back off, so it really made us wait for the 8,000. But I'm really hopeful that within the next month and a half, we'll be up to 10,000. But I appreciate that. I really do. Which I haven't with you and James both, and I'm just going to apologize because I'm a terrible YouTube friend because it's really hard to keep up with everything, and I have not been paying attention to how many subscribers you guys have. So let's go look at that so we can all collectively give you a pat on the back here, because you guys are rocking it too. Machinery channel, there we go. So Alan, 1,600, you're about to hit 2,000. That's awesome. So yeah, you guys are popping up quick. And then James was, which James isn't here anymore. He's Gibson. Dadgummit. I forgot. Gibson Landscape. That's right. Let's pull him up here. Landscape construction. And he's up to 1,100. So yeah, good. That's awesome, guys. I'm excited for you guys. Oh, let's see here. So Elliot, it's like everything else I'll tell you. As much as I love Kobelco, and I will preach Kobelco to the end of my days, just make sure you got dealership support, because it doesn't matter if they make the most amazing machine on the planet. If you don't have the dealership support there, it's going to be a crap machine for you. So, but if you have dealership support, absolutely 100% go check out Kobelco's. They are awesome machines. And if you're looking for a 20-ton class machine, they have one of the better hybrids on the market. It is a really, really efficient, productive machine, and it'll save you, I want to say it's like 13 or 18% on fuel costs a year. it ain't a little number. So, all right, thank you. Northeastern Ohio Farmer, what's your actual name? And I'm going to ask you like 5 more times. But if you'll tell me your actual name, I will start calling you by your actual name. And that way I don't, sound like such a jerk. Indifferent and cold. But I will check your email and I will respond later. Probably not tonight though, because I have an early morning. We're going to pull out of this probably in the next hour. So Johnstown area, 2-ish hours from Wheeling. I don't even know where that is. So let's take a gander, everyone. What are we doing here? We want to go to the web browser. So Johnstown, PA. Oh, it just had it too. Let's see where you're at. Right next to Daisy Town. Oh, over there. Oh, come on, computer. Ooh, she's running slow. Just past Pittsburgh. Gotcha. So you're pretty far south. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So now we know. Now we know, everyone. All right, Travis. Like I said, fair warning. I'm going to ask you that like 8 more times, but I will try to remember Travis. Oh, Alan, 100%, man. Anytime I can reference you guys, I try to. We're all brothers in this. It's a small world of construction fanatics on YouTube, so we have to band together. Dirty Dan, I appreciate that, man. I really do. This has kind of been a fun experiment that has gotten serious kind of all of the sudden, between the subscribers taking off and the fact that I've started doing more promotional, like actual video work for companies. Yeah, it's all kind of, it's getting serious. Phil, I always try to be professional to some degree. I can't promise true professionalism, but I will give you at least a small bit of classless professionalism. Let's see here. Yeah, Elliot, dealer support is the most, like, I've said this before, it doesn't matter the paint color on the machine. If you don't have the support behind it, it's a shitty machine to be in. So you could be in a nice next gen cat, which so far I've heard nothing but incredible things about. But if cat can't have you back up and running, if for whatever reason that machine goes down, it's not the machine for you. It's not a good machine. So that's the most important thing in the business. That's actually one of the big reasons I ended up parting ways with my old employer, is because we didn't provide that, yet we were supposed to go get everyone to believe that our machine was the best machine in the industry. I'm going to stop talking about that. I shouldn't talk about that. Anyway, so the comments are dying down. What's going on, guys? I think I just checked. We still got like 30 people in here. Oh, 24, so we're trickling down. But yeah, we're dying on the comments. Grizzly, that's a great question. I've actually, believe it or not, been thinking about doing something along those lines. I don't know. I don't know for 2 reasons. The first reason is I don't know the first thing about putting together a podcast and what I would talk about to keep it interesting and keep people kind of coming back. The other reason is I've honestly got so many freaking irons in the fire right now between my freelance operating and my production video work and the YouTube channel. My fear with everything, so just so you guys know, the kind of in the background conversation that my wife and I are having is I love doing the promotional video stuff. This one it's going to air next Friday, not this coming Friday, but the following Friday, is Fetchco's. Excuse me. And I am like thrilled to death with how it turned out. And I had such a great time getting to know the company and the employees and putting that together for them. I would love to go do more of that. but I don't want to take away from my primary focus, which is you guys and the YouTube channel, because really my passion is teaching and helping guys get into the trades, kind of giving them that kind of initial boost to take a leap and get into the business. And so, that's same with the podcast. I would love to do that. There's a part of me that would love to go pursue a podcast. I just don't want to get so caught up in all of the other things that the YouTube channel starts to go on the decline. And a big part of that is I'm currently able to respond to pretty much every comment. Here in the live stream, I've been able to keep pace with you guys and respond to everyone. And if I get too many irons in the fire, I don't want to lose that personal touch, because that's so important for us to have this two-way communication. And that is honestly one of my fears as the channel grows. Like, I wish the income side could go up while my subscribers stayed roughly the same, because right now I have a very intimate relationship with my audience, and that's the way I think it should be with something like this, where you guys have access to me to ask questions. And almost weekly I have phone calls with guys that contact me through the channel that just want career advice. I love being able to take those calls, and I love being accessible for that. And my fear is that as the channel grows, at some point you lose that kind of relationship. So anyway, we'll see. Long-winded answer. We will see. But it has crossed my mind multiple times. Lance, what's going on, man? So Lance Van Gilder here in the comments is my buddy, the farmer down the road. You always hear me talking about the farmer, buddy. This Lance. He's the one that your excavator tips and tricks were filmed in Lance's machine. Your dozer tips and tricks were filmed in his machine. And I even taught Lance something about his own machine, he confessed the other day. And he's the guy with the sweet drain tile plow. So we're definitely going to go out and get more footage of that here pretty soon. So, Alan, I did not get contacted by FECON. Unfortunately, who knows what'll happen there. It could have been the fact that I just sent it to their generic contact us page and no one ever saw it. So I may follow up on that at some point in time. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I appreciate the compliment on that video. Elliot, 100%. Cat really does a good job here in Michigan. Unfortunately, since I'm still a pipsqueak, they don't care about me, so they haven't really been forthcoming with letting me play on their equipment when I've called them. So we're gonna have to change that. We're gonna have to tell them, Diesel and Iron Man, you gotta let them on your machines. So Phil, now you guys see, here's the problem. You guys get me, I have these harebrained ideas, and then you guys come and reinforce them, and now I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight because I'm going to be thinking about how I can fire up this podcast and what I talk about and all this stuff. And I have an early morning tomorrow, damn it. I don't know, we'll see what happens. The other thing I'd like to do is do guests, but I don't know how I would really manage guests on a podcast, so I've got to do a fair amount of research on how to patch someone in on Skype and all that business. And yes, these are all excuses. So I don't know, guys. Just stop pressuring me. You're adding so much pressure. Dan, yes, it can make you more marketable if you want to get into operating. So I have a video out on getting your CDL. Go to my channel and search it and you'll find it. Basically what I will say is you can never have too many arrows in your quiver. This is kind of the way I look at your life in general when it comes to your resume. You can never have too many arrows in your quiver. And a CDL is a pretty powerful arrow to have if it comes down to hiring you or another guy and you've got a CDL and the other guy doesn't. That being said, you have to be careful with the CDL. You don't necessarily want to lead with a CDL at a lot of companies because, as we all know, the industry is hurting for people, and one of those people that they are hurting for is qualified drivers. So if you lead that, hey, I've got a CDL, you have to be careful because you might find yourself driving a gravel train or a lowboy, and you just can't ever get out of that seat because they need you there more than they need another operator. So 100% yes, it does make you more marketable. You just have to be careful on how you present that information so you don't kind of pigeonhole yourself. That's awesome, Lance. We'll tell your youngest I said hello, and we'll have to get together for dinner here pretty quick. So, yeah, Steven, that is. So, I will say one thing that Cat has done, like, far superior to anyone else in the industry, is the logistics of uptime. You can get parts quick. You can research parts quick. You can get aftermarket parts quick. Like, Cat is fully supported on all of their equipment. And I would say Deere is not far behind them, but really nothing compares to Cat in that circumstance. And that is, in all honesty, Cat doesn't make the hands down best equipment in the industry. I think we can all admit that. But what they do better than anyone else is support that equipment. And that's why most large contractors that you see run a ton of Caterpillar equipment. It's not because it's the greatest in the business. But when that machine goes down, Cat's going to get someone out there to fix it. They're going to have the parts on hand to fix it. And if they don't, it's within a day or two that you get those parts. It's not waiting for a month for something to come in on a ship from overseas, which has happened with some of the case machines that we've had go down back when I was working at the dealership. Like, legit, we would have to put a machine out on rent because we were waiting a month for a part. So that's one thing that Cat has really done well. So, let's see here. There you go, Elliot. You go in there and just drop like have you guys seen Diesel and Iron? I mean, he's blowing up. Yeah, and then I'll follow that up with a phone call. We got to coordinate. So I'll follow that up with a phone call to Cat dealership. Hey, I run this channel, Diesel and Iron. Have you heard of me? They'd be like, oh yeah, we just heard about you. Okay, let me in one of the next gen Cat, excavators so I can do a video on it. I got to play with the 2D system, which, by the way, guys, I don't know if you're aware, but the new next gen Cat excavators, I was really excited to hear all of this. I already knew about the fact that they were including a 2D system, but they actually have overdig protection on them, which they've had in the past. But it's always sucked because what's happened is as you pull the sticks back, it slows way down and you can't make passes anywhere close to the speed you can as a qualified operator. Until now. I talked to 3 separate operators when I was at Fetchco. They had a bunch of new equipment because they went the lease route and they have a bunch of brand new hose and they're all the next gen. Every single one of those operators said that the overdig protection is 100% full speed. You can literally just pull the boom and the stick back and it will stay right on grade as fast as you'd be able to dig it. They said obviously if you're digging in like lumpy clay where you're already going to have kind of some undulations, obviously it can't react quick enough for that. But let's be honest, as seasoned operators, you have to go slow and dig that at a very slow pace anyway. So that's not any. So all that to say, I was super excited to hear about that, and I'm really looking forward to the time where I can finally sit my ass in the seat of one of the next gen machines. So, Lawrence, great question. I have not run a full-on rototilt. I have run tilt buckets with the ditching bucket on it, but I have not done the full-on rototilt. I will say with the tilt bucket by itself, learning curve was relatively shallow because you're only working with one more axis. But yeah, I would say it's not anywhere close to being on par with a rototilt, just because now you're adding a 4th dimension with the rotation of the bucket, and now you can angle it at the rotated angle. Like a guy that I love watching, there's 2 guys that I really love watching. Connor the Digger Driver, if you're familiar with him on Instagram, go watch that guy use his rototilt. He is phenomenal. And then Dirt Ninja on YouTube, I'm sure you guys are familiar with. He is really good with his rototilt as well. He's got some hours in that machine. You can tell he's very smooth with it. And he's able to pull out some pretty complicated movements with that thing. And then Danish Construction Channel, he also does a really good job with a rototilt. So I have a lot of respect for those guys. No, I just noticed your second question, and I will say you will 100% see loss and breakout force. And that's just simple physics. So, unfortunately, I don't really have anything. Well, I guess we could try this. So let's think about the physics of this. So let's say this is my hinge pin, my fingers here, and this is the tip of my bucket with no coupler or anything else. So when I apply a force back here, I have a lot, I'm sorry, bumping the microphone. I've got a lot of action here. I've got a lot of force application, if you will, to this end here. Now, what happens when you put a coupler on? You move here. So you lose a little bit of that force, because this point here where our cylinder is pushing on the bucket linkage, that's not changing distance, but this is changing distance. And so we're gonna lose some of that force. Now, when you put a freaking rototilt on there, you're moving that sucker way back here. And so you do have a pretty significant loss in breakout force. And it's just simple physics, because now we're using a much shorter pivot point here, I should say. It's not that we're shrinking this side. For this example, you're seeing it shrink. In reality, we're not shrinking this side, but this side is extending way out. And you can see how that's going to really take away from the amount of force we can apply here, because this is so much longer. So anytime the tip of the bucket gets further away from the hinge point, you lose breakout force, and it happens pretty quick. So one of the videos I want to do at some point in time is a down and dirty that is, are couplers the end all be all? Because everyone loves quick couplers. But the reality is, every time you put a quick coupler on a machine, you're actually sacrificing breakout force. So is the convenience worth it? And that's kind of the conversation you have to have as a company, as a business, with what you're doing. So Dirty Dan, I know. Pushy6, Scott over there, he has got some serious hookups, and I am seriously jealous, because he always gets in the new deer stuff and the cat stuff. I need to get that sort of clout. And it's not like he has a phenomenal amount more subscribers than I do. I mean, double, maybe a little more than double, but still, damn it. I should be a force to reckon with. Anyway, I am jealous of him. Might be able to help you with Elliot. Oh, Elliot, you should talk to your boss. Yes, absolutely, talk to your boss. What company are you working for, by the way, Elliot? But yeah, absolutely. If you guys would be willing to let me play around in one of those machines and make some videos in it, doesn't have to be on a job site doing real stuff. I can go play in a BS pile somewhere. But yeah. Brett, if you're green to the company, would a general laborer be a good start? Yes, 100%. 100%. So, depends on the type of company. If it's kind of a road crew, be a general laborer. If you're working with a company that does underground, go be a pipe layer. That is if you can do pipe work, if you can, not only from a physical standpoint, but if you know you're going to learn how to set grades, you're going to learn how to work a pipe laser, you're going to learn how to stay on grade, you're going to learn how to properly bed pipe, you're going to learn how to properly put in trench boxes, you're going to learn how to properly bolt together multiple sets of trench boxes, you're going to learn how to move them, you're going to learn how to, the whole pipe lane, everything on that job, you're going to learn by being a pipe layer. That is the best spot you can start in this industry. And that is why over and over and over again, you will hear me say, the union is nice if you want to make money fast. It is not the greatest way into the industry if you want to learn the industry all the way in and out, through and through. Start as a laborer. Be happy holding a shovel and a grade rod for a year to a year and a half. That is the best way to learn. That's where my knowledge base comes from. I didn't go to any trade schools, didn't go to any technical schools. I just labored for a year and a half, 2 years. And then when I switched over to Dan's, I spent a little over a year and a half on a concrete breaker. Shittiest job in the world. You do not want it. But I spent that whole time running that concrete breaker, watching all the other operators on the road crew, what they were doing, all the pipe crews, what they were doing. You're observing, you're learning. So take those positions that seem like they're pretty crappy, that you don't want, use them to learn and observe. It's the best way to learn. Lawrence, I will try to make that video. I'm gonna have to. Actually, it occurs to me, I got some die-cast models upstairs. Maybe I can make that video here relatively quick. Oh, Elliot, H&K. That's right. I totally forgot we had that conversation. Yeah. So tell Kip that Brian Furness, the young whippersnapper that tried to sell him a Case 2050M at Southeastern Equipment, is now doing YouTube and wants to come out and play in his brand new 385, his brand new $1 million machine. Tell him that guy wants to play in his $1 million machine for a YouTube video, and let me know how hard he laughs. But honestly, it's worth a shot, man. I would absolutely drive. I will 100% drive to Kalamazoo to operate. You should tell him I said to drive. That will also help my cause. I will 100% drive to Kalamazoo to operate a brand new 385. Yeah. Or a 336. I'm good with a 336, but... Oh, I read that wrong. It's a 335. Ah, you had me all hot to trot, man. Oh, now I'm so bummed. I thought I was going to get to run a 385 again and a brand new one. Man, that is a very, very bitter cup to drink from. The cup of disappointment and not getting to run a 385. I'll still be happy. Anything next gen, I'll be happy. But it's still not a 385. Anyway. It's dying off again, guys. We got to get chit-chatty. I can't carry this conversation by myself, and there's still 24 of you guys in here. I mean, come on now. You guys got to pick up the slack here. Oh, excuse me, pardon me. Let's see. I don't even have any like BS filler talk, honestly, because we've been rolling for a while here. And I have run out of topics of conversation. I haven't been thinking ahead of things that I should talk about if there's a lull in the conversation. So, let's see here. What can we chat about? Nope. Nothing's coming to mind, guys. Honestly, nothing's coming to mind. And if you guys don't pick it up in the chat here pretty quick, we're going to have to wrap this sucker up, which, in all honesty, I'm not going to complain about. Because, like I said, I have an early morning tomorrow with Rick, and I'm going to go play Chris from Let's Dig. That's my role for the next, 3 or 4 days. I am getting a CX210 straight from the dealership. It's a brand new one. It's brand new. It's got, less than 100 hours, I think. Maybe less than 200 hours. It's still new. And I'm going to go shove trees over in the woods for 3 days. Efix, what's going on? Yes. So it's ironic you say that. The guest that you are speaking of is the guy that I'm going to work with tomorrow. That's my buddy Rick. And we're going to go shove trees over in the woods tomorrow. Elliot, yeah. I'm only disappointed because the 385 is just such a ridiculous, monstrous beast of a machine. But yes, I'm super happy. The 336 is actually one of my favorite weight classes when it comes to excavators because you've got the smaller footprint, but it's got the power of those big hoes. So yeah, I legitimately like running that 336 size class. So, yes, Lance. I'm shocked you're still in here, Lance. Yes, it is getting close to bedtime because I have to be up at 5:30 tomorrow because I got to drive all the way to Grand Blanc and be there on site at 7 o'clock when this excavator drops. Which, by the way, Lance, since you're here and this is the most convenient avenue for us to have this conversation right now, I did talk to Rick. He's probably not going to need that feller head that you've got. He was able to borrow a feller head for his skid from a buddy that he apparently knows and has been out using that, and he said it works fantastic. So he appreciates the offer. Now, that being said, if you want him to come over with the mulcher, I can still absolutely have that conversation. So now that everyone has listened to my private conversation with Lance, let's get back to the live stream and again be professional. Vegemite. What the F is Vegemite? So I know that's an Australian thing, Phil. But what the F is Vegemite? I've never had it. I've only heard about it, and I don't know anything about it. Fisher Contracting. Brett, where's Fisher Contracting out of? Because the name kind of rings a bell. Midland. I don't know. Fisher Contracting. I tell you what I could do, Brett, is I've got some industry contacts from when I sold equipment that would probably be familiar with that name, and I could ask them, but I honestly don't have any experience with that name. By the way, guys, I think I've said this before, but I feel the need to say it again. It looks like I'm high as shit right now. It's only because, one, it's late, and two, I'm staring into this ridiculously bright light. That's how I'm able to light my face and make it look nice and pretty for you guys. But it is blinding and it burns my eyes. So generally by the end of these live streams, it looks like I'm really stoned out of my mind. That's not actually the case. Yeah, Dan, I like watching Chris's stuff. He does really good work, but I am, and to be fair, so I always talk about you guys learning stuff from me on my YouTube channel. 100% all of the tree stuff that I know of taking down trees and excavators, that's all learned from Chris, watching him do it. So I've taken down probably a dozen trees over my entire career. It's never been something that I've done, but everything I know about it has come from watching Chris do it, watching how he goes about it, and what he's looking out for. And so all that to say, YouTube is 100% a legit education these days. All of my videography stuff, so I just went down and worked for Fetchco, making a production video for them, like professionally. They paid me as a professional to make this video, do professional videography, professional photography, 100% YouTube education. And I was very upfront and told them that, and they all laughed about it. So yeah, gotta love YouTube, man. So Keith, that's a good question. I think that grader operators or the machines themselves, the honest truth to that is there's no operators. And so contractors have had to find other ways to get that level of precision and accuracy. And that's why you're starting to see skid steers with laser grade boxes become much more prevalent. You can now set those grade boxes up with a 3D GPS system. So believe it or not, you can have a CTL out there, like a 4,500 pound lift capacity machine out there with a laser grade box, and you can get the precision that you would want with a grader out of that, but you don't have to have a seasoned grader operator out there on the job. A grader is a complex machine with a lot of complex movements. You really have to know what you're doing. Unfortunately, that's a dying breed these days, which is why I've told multiple guys in the industry, if you want to future-proof yourself, freaking go learn a road grader, because you can go write your own ticket at these larger companies that still have road graders. But that's honestly why I think you're seeing the road grader diminish. Is it's not that the machine isn't as capable as it was, or it's not as needed. It's the simple fact there's not many people out there that still know how to run them. And so contractors are having to find these other avenues to use to grade with. So, Lawrence, I am in Howell. So, yes, I am 100% here in Michigan, right here in central Michigan. I worked for Dan's Excavating. If you're familiar with them, that was the big contractor in Michigan that I spent 5.5 years working for. Oh, ethics. No. In fact, I thought about that just the other night, and here's my piece of paper I'm going to write that down on. I couldn't remember who that was, and I couldn't remember who told me about it, and so, no, I have not watched it. So, I'm going to do that right now. What did you say it was? Duck Girl? Yes, Duck Girl. I am writing down Duck Girl, and I am going to go watch some of her stuff, and I apologize, I did not do that already. Wheeled excavator maniac, he claims. Elliot, thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate it. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Brett, Midland. Okay, yeah. So I just looked them up. They are on Midland. I'd have to look at some of my old industry contacts and hit them up to see if they're familiar with the name, but I'm not familiar with Fisher. Grizzly, great question. Which camera are you referring to? So the one that I'm filming on right now is a Sony A7, a Sony A7 III, I should say. That's my kind of cinema camera. I mean, honestly, the cameras have gotten to where this is pretty much on par with the cinema camera. So I've got that. That's what I use for all of my cinematic shots. All of these montages where you get that like nice blurry background and stuff. Excuse me. That's all filmed on my Sony A7. I have a GoPro Hero 7. I think it's a 7. Because and I specifically went with the 7 over the 8 because that was the last model that they let you have a replaceable front lens cover, which is stupid in my opinion because it's a GoPro. It's going to get beat up and banged up. Why would you not make the freaking lens cover replaceable? Getting sidetracked. So GoPro, that's what I use for all of my intros and outros. Most of my action shots that are out on the machine, you'll see are from my GoPro. I have a Sony action cam. That's going to be the one that has a little bit, it's shittier footage because it's an older camera, and it's got terrible audio. So the video that posted here last week, I think, where it was looking straight down at the Fecon head, at the front of the Fecon head, that was my Sony action cam. Basically, I use my Sony action cam for when I'm in the cab, when you can see my hand movements. That's the Sony action cam pointing down. And then I also use that for all of my risky camera shots because out of all of my camera equipment, that's the cheapest one that if something catastrophic were to happen, that's the one I can afford to replace the most. So those are my 3 primary film cameras. And then I have my drone, which is a Mavic Air 2. I just upgraded that from a Phantom 4. So that's all of my camera gear. Now I have audio gear on top of that, believe it or not. Like you guys, when I go out and film, I bring a backpack that is stuffed full with all of my camera stuff. And then I have my drone bag, and then I have a gimbal, and it's got its own carrying case. And my gimbal is for the Sony A7. So, let's see here. Ooh, you got to be up at 3, Dan? No thanks, man. Ugh. That's no good. Okay, Lawrence. So yeah, you're right down the road, buddy. Yeah, Keith, the Blade is a whole different animal. And even there, you have the guys that are old school that know how to run the piano keys. And then you got the new generation that knows how to run the new cat controls and the new deer controls where they're all on the handles. And there's not a ton of guys that can cross over between the two. And generally speaking, all of the piano key guys love the old graders anyway. So they don't really want to convert over. So 100% it is a dying breed. And so if you really want to, if you want to get in a spot in this business that you're not going to get automated out of a job, you're always going to be the first one they call back in the season, you're going to be the last one to get laid off, and you're never going to go anywhere because they don't want to lose you, learn how to run a grader. The Blade is so freaking technical. If you do it well, you can write your own ticket. Oh, there you go. So you were applying at Dan's. Yeah, nice. Dan's works the snot out of you, and you're a number. But your checks always cash. Always. You never have to worry about your check at Dan's. So, Lawrence, were you the one asking about Fisher? No, that was somebody else. Where are you working, Lawrence? Just out of curiosity. Oh, Grizzly, yes. So I upgraded to this Sony A7 from like an old Canon, what was it, SL, I don't remember the model. It was an old Rebel. This thing is amazing. The picture quality that comes out of it just straight out of camera is incredible. And then when you throw it in a piece of software, I use DaVinci Resolve to edit. The things you can do with the footage out of this camera is incredible. It is just, oh God, I love this camera. Now, Sony just came out with the A7S III, which I've got a giant camera boner for, because it's incredible, but it's like $1,000 more than this one was. So maybe as we continue to grow the channel, I will eventually need a second DSLR for setting up some other shots. So that's probably going to be the next camera I purchase. So Keith, thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate it. And we will catch you probably on the next one next week. Yeah. So, let's see here. So Jesus Rides, tips or suggestions. I will say, and this is not just me shamelessly plugging my channel, I actually have a dozer tips and tricks video. I would highly recommend you go watch that because I do cover a lot of the basics. But honestly, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is be patient with yourself, because dozer, in all honesty, is one of the hardest machines to run on the job, because everything is coming from your ass level, and your ass level just takes time to develop. It just takes time in the seat. So what I would recommend you do is find a spot that you know visually you can get off the machine, and you find that spot and you go, okay, that's flat and level, and track that machine over to that spot, and then just sit on it. Feel what that feels like in your ass where you're flat and level, and start to develop that, because that's what you're going to use through your entire career running a dozer. Is where, I can tell you immediately whether you can get out of the machine and have the actual ground deceive your eyes, and you'll say that's running uphill, and you'll get in the machine, and I can tell you from sitting in the machine, no, that's running downhill, or it's pitching a little bit to the left. It's just over time you develop that ass level to where you know exactly what the ground's doing, despite what your eyes are telling you it's doing. A lot of times you'll use that in circumstances where you've got to carry just a little bit of fall, but it's so minute, you have so little to play with, that visually you can't tell whether it's going uphill or downhill. It's all in your ass. So that's the biggest piece of advice I can tell you, is just start to develop that, and then just go nice and slow in the beginning. Everyone gets in a dozer, and everyone goes slow at first. That's how you learn, and just slowly work on getting faster and faster. As you get better at, not making all the hoopties and everything, speed it up just a little bit. And then you're going to be frustrated again. You're going to get pissed off. It's okay. Calm yourself down, slow it down a little bit, and then go make that smooth pass, and then speed it up a little bit. And get smooth and speed it up a little bit. And over time, you just start getting faster and faster. So that's the best thing I can tell you. Let's see here. Case Project Minotaur. So Dan, that is actually my initial thoughts. I haven't actually gotten to spend any time with that machine. My initial thoughts are it can be an absolute game changer to the industry, because I think about smaller dirt contractors that are doing primarily like residential work or parking lots. Landscapers are another good one. Traditionally, you've had to go out there, and when you want to carry material, you have to bring your skid steer. If you want to get into a little heavier grading, now you're going to trailer a D3 out there. Now you have one machine that can do that. Landscapers, you've got a really capable, like you can pick up some serious boulders with the lift capacity that machine provides. But then you can turn around, and when you go to grade out a 2-acre lot, instead of having to have a little D3 or an old Case 550 or whatever dozer you have, instead of having to have that machine and cart it out there, you've got that C-frame dozer blade that you can mount right up to the machine. Boom, there you go. And you've got the production capability of a D3 or a 550. Now, that being said, I haven't sat in the machine. I've heard a lot of good things from people who have sat in the machine. I know multiple people who were in the test trials for that machine, and they loved it. But me personally, I haven't had a chance to sit in it. So I'm trying to get Case to get me out to Tomahawk, which is their kind of like wine and dine facility where they take the big clients. I'm trying to get them to take me out there and give me some seat time in that DL550 And I'm also trying to get them to give me some seat time in a dozer that has the Leica 3D system on it, so I can get you guys some footage of that. We will see what happens. So, but I'm very excited about it. To kind of give you the short answer, I'm super excited about it. I think it can really revolutionize the industry. Grizzly, so that's the nice thing, is I can record everything in 4K. Everything on YouTube, because most people can't watch things in 4K currently, or it's not enough of a difference that it really matters. You know, on your smartphone, you're not going to be able to tell that huge of a difference. So I upload everything in 1080p. But the nice thing when you film in 4K is I can zoom way in on my shots and still have that crystal clear picture. I'm telling you, Grizzly, if you want to go down the nerd trail with me of talking camera stuff, shoot me an email or give me a call, because I can go way down the nerd trail with you. I've gotten way into the production side to where I would bore everyone in this chat talking about all of the camera stuff and my editing stuff and all of the intricacies of that. So you let me know, buddy. I'll chat cameras with you all day long. Warren Contractors and Development. I have not heard of them, Lawrence. Roughly what size company are they? Just out of curiosity. I said that earlier when I said, who do you work for? Just out of curiosity. I like saying just out of curiosity, apparently. So, Sean, you can let the air out of the seat, but in all honesty, it has nothing to do with the air in the seat. It has to do with the pitch in your seat. So the cushioning up and down isn't going to have an impact on the pitch of whether you're leaning forward or backward or left or right. So in all honesty, I would say for the sake of your back, keep that air seat inflated, and also don't give yourself any weird things that you're going to have to work through. Like once you get the ass level figured out with no air in the seat, don't take another factor where you've got air in the seat and it pumps you back up and you're going to have to deal with that. Keep the air in your seat, keep it pumped up to the right level, which I'm going to do a video on how to properly set an air ride seat, because half of the industry is like semi-retarded when it comes to setting an air ride seat. It blows my mind. But anyway, figure out what that ass level feels like, and it's all in the pitch, and that air ride's not going to affect that at all. Okay, Carson, that's 100%. Yeah, well, you'll wear yourself out going over the hoopties, and then you will, by default, you will get good, or you will quit running dozer. So, like a blade hand as laborer, knowing and mastering how to set grades, can that also secure your job? Yeah, Grizzly. So let's kind of shift gears. My channel's all about operating, but let's say if you got really good as a grade checker and you wanted to kind of stay in that vein of sticking with the laborers, which we as operators tend to have this mindset that we're somehow like the next tier over laborers, or laborers like, why would you choose that? It sucks. It's terrible. The reality is laborers make really good money that is right on par with operators. In some areas, they actually make more than operators. And that's a really, really great career path. I don't talk about it a ton on my channel just because I'm an operator, but like the laborer route is 100% a viable way to go. And it is a great, great line of work to go into. So all that to say, if you wanted to stick in the kind of laborer vein, if you can become a grade checker, absolutely. Those are some of your top guys. In fact, I would say on most of the jobs that I was on, the big jobs, the grade checkers, like they called the shots. If the foreman wasn't there, the grade checker was the one in charge. And he was the one coming over and telling you as an operator what you needed to do. So 100%, if you can become a good grade man, you can absolutely secure that job. Carson, 100%. So if your machine has any sort of grade control, how do I want to word this? Flip it off as much as you are able. So obviously, if you're in a production setting and you have to get footage and that's the only thing driving you, then 100% make your final passes with the 3D GPS on so that you aren't getting yourself behind and in trouble. Now, that being said, if you're grading out roadstone and you're waiting on a couple trucks to come, make those finish passes as much as you can by hand. And once you've got it pretty well dialed in, drop back and make your absolute final pass with the GPS on. But you should be, like, this is something that a lot of operators don't necessarily do, that separates good operators from really great operators. You should always be practicing. There's a reason when, there's a lot of operators that get a kick out of stacking rocks, and we all roll our eyes, but at the same time, like, that's how you practice. And I'm not saying you stack rocks when there's work to be done, but if you're loading trucks out and you have 10 minutes before your next truck shows up, and you've already got your pile pulled around to where you can load productive and efficiently, and there's literally nothing else you need to be doing, practice stacking rocks. That's great practice for doing those super fine controlled movements with a hoe. Likewise, if you're in a dozer, as much as you can, turn the GPS off and make those finish passes smooth as glass, like it looks like a GPS was running the machine. Check yourself with the GPS, use the tools that are given to you, but don't rely on them. It is 100%, like Carson just said, it is a hindrance when you start 100% relying on the machine to do it for you. That's the one big danger. It is amazing that the new cat machines, that 2D system, will do overdig protection. Don't use it 100% of the time. You as an excavator operator need to continue to hone your skills on making those nice, flat, level finish passes. You're never going to do that if you rely on that machine. And what happens if you get on a job site where they don't have it programmed? Yeah, you could use the 2D system, but still, what happens if you get an old 330? Doesn't have it anymore. And now you're so out of practice, you can't make a finish pass. As a seasoned operator, you can't make a nice level finish pass. Like, that's the danger of those systems and the technology. So, Dolomed, what's the biggest site you've worked on? It depends on how you define that. I've been on a couple airport jobs where we were doing taxiways that were at Detroit Metro Airport. So, I mean, those are large job sites in themselves. I've been on some highway projects that were 11 miles long. I think my longest was, what was that? I think the longest was 11 miles, and then the other one was right around 9 or 10 miles long. So those were some of the larger job sites that I've been on. By far, if you're talking pieces of equipment, I was on Dan's completely reconstructed both east and westbound I-96 in the Detroit area about let's see here, it's been like 6 or 7 years ago, and our company alone, not including any of our subcontractors, our company alone had 300 pieces of equipment on that job site. That was the most awesome chaos I have, like, controlled chaos, but chaos nonetheless. That is the most awesome chaos I've ever seen in my life. The amount of equipment that was on that job site and the amount of personnel that was on that job site was mind-boggling. So it all depends on how you define big. Yeah, Dan's is in a class of its own. There are only a handful of companies that are Dan's class. So Jesus, it's nice when I just call you Jesus, huh? Cutting grade, how can you tell how much you're cutting with the blade of the dozer? So that just comes with time. And one of the other things you have to develop when you're running any piece of equipment is your sight picture. Like, when you look at the blade, you know that, roughly a third of the way up on your cutting edge is about a tenth, roughly, or a quarter of the way, whatever that is, depending on the dozer that you're in. It just takes time and a lot of time in the seat. I know that's kind of redundant that I just said that, but it just takes a lot of time in the seat to develop that sight picture that from the cab you can really get a good feel for where you're at. There's really not a better way to do it, because that is one of the hard part. I told you earlier, dozer's one of the hardest machines to operate, and the reason is you don't actually see what's happening on the front side of the blade. You're only seeing what's dropping underneath the blade as you go over it. And so you're reading the back side of that blade to know where the dirt is on that blade. And you're using experience of what the ground looks like as you track over it to know roughly where that dirt is on your blade. If you're kind of finishing you're running out that dirt on the blade, to know when you actually run it out, you're actually judging it on the back side of the blade. You don't see what's happening on the front. So that is a good question. There's not a good answer. It's difficult and it takes time. Yeah, Carson, absolutely. So when you have to see, the other thing that's going to kind of qualify you when you finally reached a level of expertise on the dozer is everybody does it. You don't need to feel terrible about it, but everybody has to back drag in the beginning. You do passes and they're kind of humpy, and then you back drag it and you're like, oh, that looks good. The reality is, because you just back dragged it, it's not virgin, which means that the second someone rolls over top of it, you got the hoopties again. Or the second rain comes, it washes all of that fluff away and you're left with your shitty grade pass. When you've become a good dozer operator is when you can make reasonably speedy passes going forward, and you do not have to back drag unless you need to take track marks out. The only time you see a good dozer operator back drag is when they are intentionally trying to cover their tracks up, because it's like a finished grade at a home lot, or you'll see me do it a lot of times when I'm working for Lance on his parking lot, when I'm going to put millings over top of it and it's a softer material like sand. I'm back dragging so that I can smooth the top over so that those millings will lay flush over top of it. It's never because I'm correcting the grade. If you're having to back drag to correct grade, you need to continue to practice your skills on the dozer and get it to where you can make flat passes going forward. Hey Grizzly, thanks for hanging out, man. Absolutely, whatever I can do to help out, I appreciate the support, brother. Let's see here, Lawrence. Bacon, what's happening, man? Yeah, that's I'm glad you were able to make it. We are gonna wrap up here. In fact, we should wrap up here in the next like 5 to 10 minutes. So but I am glad you were able to make it before we do wrap up. I didn't realize Dan's is on I-75, but at the same time, I haven't been keeping up with a lot of the big companies currently because I've got so much other stuff going on. I haven't really been keeping up with where they're all at, but I may have to head over to I-75 and get some footage of that. Dolomed, it depends on the company, and it depends also, you could say have a ton of experience on loader and no experience on dozer, and they may take you in as a loader operator with a year of experience or so. I would say safely try to get a year or so under your belt, but at the same time, in all honesty, they're hurting so bad for people, you might try applying now. I can't guarantee that you're going to get anything good with no experience. If you do want to go into a larger company and get into the seat of a dozer or a loader, I would say at least a year or so of experience would probably be required to really get you to the level, because it's not even like you kind of have to prove that you know how to run the machine. The problem with those large companies is generally it's pretty big projects and they're on pretty tight deadlines. So you don't just need to be able to run the machine, you've got to get serious production out of the machine. And you've got to kind of jump up to the next tier. It's one thing if I can make really smooth finish passes in my dozer. For simplicity's sake, let's talk about like a D6N. where you've got a real transmission. If I can make my finish passes in a D6N in first gear and they look like glass, that's great. That still ain't going to get you there. Because the reality is, when you're working for someone like Dan's, you're generally running that thing in second or third gear, making those passes that flat. Because you got to get that kind of production. And most of the time when we were laying down roadstone, you've got a gravel train dumping probably every 2 to 3 minutes. That's a crap load of material that you've got to put down, and you've got to put it down accurately. So it's not just about making accurate passes, it's about making a lot of really fast, accurate passes to keep up with the production of the job. So, Utica, Illinois at Love's. What are you doing at Love's? Do you not have Wi-Fi at the house? What's with Love's? Are you a truck driver? That's kind of the other reason I would expect you to be at Love's. All right, guys, 5 minutes. We're going to do 5 more minutes, and we're going to wrap this baby up so that I can get a good, beautiful night's sleep. I can be chipper in the morning to talk to myself into a GoPro. I try, Lawrence. I try to only preach facts. Sometimes it's wild speculation, but it's up to you to guess when that is. Oh, baby. Let's see here. Oh, we're down to 22 people. And only 17 likes. Come on now, that's pitiful. That's pitiful. Oh well. So I thought I was going to say something, but the thought just left me, and it happens sometimes. I'm sorry. From Milwaukee. Whoo. So you got a ways to go back home. So what are you driving for, Bacon? What are you transporting? And dang, over the road does not sound like a good time. I thought you were in this industry. I didn't realize that you were a driver. Zolamed, nope. Straight from high school, go hiring in at a company. In fact, 100%. Go hire. In fact, you can start calling them. I'm assuming. Well, I don't know what grade you're in, but senior year, start calling companies around March, April, and tell them, hey, I'm about to graduate. I'd like to labor for you. I ultimately want to become an operator, but I want to learn it from the ground up. You will have a job by the time, in fact, the day after you graduate, you could probably show up on a job site, and you will get paid to get the education that you would have paid to get via a trade school. So I would 100% tell you to go that route. So, Alan, I appreciate that. I appreciate you valuing my sleep, because I also value my sleep. So, Sean, yes, if you're on a production job, it's yes, to a degree. That's a hard one to answer. So generally what happens on a job site is if you don't have GPS, you have a grade checker. And what the grade checker is going to do is he's got his laser set up. He knows exactly what the grade's supposed to be. So he will go out in front of you. I need to do a video on this now that I think about it, because no one new to the industry knows how to read this. So what the grade checker does is he goes out in front of you, call it 15 feet, and he'll do 3 shots perpendicular to your machine across the grade. And so if you're high, he will do a mark. Let me see here. If you're high, he will do a mark running with the machine. So it's going to spray paint a mark like this. If you're low, he's going to spray paint a mark perpendicular to the machine. And the way I've always kept track of that in my mind is if we have our machine tracking along, if you imagine this as a speed bump, we need to carry it over that speed bump or we're going to lose material, so we're low. But if it's with us, the line is going the same direction we're traveling, that means that I need to take that material with me. It needs to come with me with the blade. That's how I remember that. So what he's going to do is he's going to give you grade shots. He'll do like 3 or 4 shots across, and then he's going to move like another 20 or 30 feet out in front of you, and he's going to do the same thing. Each mark represents 1/10. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll have 1/10, and then they'll do this little kind of half mark, and that is a half, so 1.5 tenths. That's telling you you need to take 1.5 tenths with you when you go over that spot. And then he'll go another 30 or 40 feet in front of you. So basically he'll give you 4 sets of markings, gradually getting further away from you in about 20-foot increments, 30-foot increments, somewhere in there. You need to then be able to, as an operator, make that pass in 1 or 2 passes and carry the material from the high spots over to the low spots. And you need to be able to do that at a reasonable rate. So it's not necessarily that you've got to eyeball and get close to the ground and say, oh, 2 inches needs to come off there. It's generally you have a grade checker that's telling you what you need to do, and you need to be able to check and maintain that grade. And ultimately what that boils down to is your sight picture of knowing how much you need to cut, and it's also going to be in your ass level. Because obviously if you go from nice, flat, smooth to dip down to take your 2/10 off, you haven't done a good job of keeping that ass level to make a nice smooth surface. And it all just comes with time. So you do have a degree of accuracy that's like, when you really step back as an outsider and think about it, it's really impressive what guys are able to do in these machines. The degree of it, I mean, you're talking a 1/2 tenth of accuracy in a D6 flying in 2nd or 3rd gear. So Dolomed, absolutely, man. Whatever I can do to help you out. If you got more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. So for roll, just it went through CDL program, resume build. Gotcha. So Bacon, interesting. That does not sound like a good gig. Like, I would not want to do that gig personally, but Ryan, that's okay, Ryan, because you emailed me the company name, so I think we should be safe. And if you haven't emailed me the company name, shoot me an email for the company name. Yeah, but no problem. I totally get that. That's no big deal. Lawrence, that's 100%, man. Eve, it doesn't matter how much experience if you got in this industry. If you're not learning, just get out of the industry. Like, you never reach a level of perfection where you can't learn something. I learn something every freaking time I go out on a job site. So, and I do my best to stay humble. I try really hard to. That's where you guys need to keep me in check, in all honesty. If I'm starting to get cocky, you need to call me out on it. So Bacon. So a 1/10 is a 1/10 of a foot, which and I have a video on this if you want to go watch it. It's converting from tenths to inches. But basically, if you take a foot, which is 12 inches, and divide it into 10 separate pieces, a 1/10 is 1.2 inches. And so everything that we talk about in the construction world when we talk about tenths is tenths of a foot. So 1.2 inches. So a 1/2 of a 1/10 is, what is that, about 3/4 of an inch roughly? So you're talking 3/4 of an inch of accuracy on a dozer traveling at what, 6-ish miles an hour? So it's pretty impressive. Hey, thanks for hanging out, Ryan. I appreciate you. I appreciate your support, hanging out, chatting, because honestly, it would be me chatting to myself if you guys didn't show up. So I do appreciate that. And I will. So fair warning on your email. I'm probably not going to respond tonight because I'm going to go watch a show with my wife so I can go to bed at a reasonable time. And then I have a full day, if not a full week. So give me a bit on your email. I promise I will look at it. I promise I will respond. So, oh, Bacon, that's a big factor. Is not having a family. That's a huge factor. Carson, thank you for correcting me. 1 1/4. Yeah, 1 1/4 inches. Is it 1 1/4? A 10? Yeah, 1.2. Yeah, that's. I just left off the 0.05. So yes, 1.2 inches, which is 1 1/4 inches. Because as Americans, we decided to have the most complicated system ever for measuring distances. And don't even get me started on converting a pint to tablespoons and what is involved in that. My God, the mental gymnastics. So yeah, no, Bacon, it's all a tenth of a foot. Everything is tenths of a foot. So, and that's because of the reason that we as Americans have the most ridiculous measuring system. So it's just easier to convert everything to tenths and work off of that. On the job site, in fact, it's really rare to actually work in feet and inches. It's always generally done in feet and tenths. So all of our grade rods are in tenths. So if you actually pull out a grade rod, if you watch that grade rod video, you'll see when you pull out the grade rod, there are not 12 individual divisions for inches. There are 10 divisions. And then there are divisions within those 10 where you get into hundredths of an inch. So, but yeah, go watch that video. It'll explain all of that. So I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. I gotta call it. It's 9:40. I think that's a good round number that we can wrap this up. So as always, I appreciate you guys hanging out. I really do. If you've emailed me, I will look at those. I'm going to go get a good night's sleep. You guys also get a good night's sleep. Bacon, go to bed. Get out of the Love's truck stop. Who knows what shady characters are looking over your shoulder trying to steal your passwords. You guys have a nice evening. And 3 centimeters. Oh my Lord, Bacon. You can't throw that out there. No, it's a whole different topic of conversation. Sweet Jesus. You guys, 1250. God dang it, Carson. You got to rub that in my face. That's an a-hole move. The last line of the night is you bragging about running a 1250. See if you can get me on that job site, buddy. That's it. We're out. You guys have a good night, and we will catch you guys on the next stream. I'm going to leave the chat up so you guys can finish out your comments. I will read them. I always read them, by the way. So if you say anything past here, I won't respond, but I will see it. So you guys enjoy your evening.